Somehow feel like I'm in like an elevator of a
It's
like
it's
a
good.
cool
It's Friday
building.
afternoon music.
Yes.
There we go.
You got one life, for crying out loud. You might as well just give it all you got.
The Deej, Dan Jourdan.
Your daily dose of reality. Your daily dose of the Deej.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I need my daily dose of the Deej.
I make the news. I don't watch the news. I'm a leader.
The Sales Energizer, Dan Jourdan.
Listen, don't worry how to sell, baby. Worry about why people buy. And it's fun.
You don't need a 5-hour energy. All you need is the Sales Energizer.
Just when I think it's not going to be as fun as the one before, each one gets successfully better. What's the word I'm looking for? What's it going to take to get you into this car today, huh?
And now, please welcome the Sales Energizer, Dan Jourdan.
Boom! That's exactly it.
Do that. Let's do that. Boom.
Let's do that. Let's do
it.
that.
You know what? We have to get a new bumper. I'm like 15 years old in that picture. I don't know what's going on. You know what happened is like the last 10 years, I changed like 50 years. You know, it was like boom, 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 and then like snap. All of a sudden, you look like you're 2,000 years old.
You don't realize it until you see something, and you're like, "When was that?" And you're like, "Well, that wasn't that far ago." You know, my hair is a lot more white.
Well, you used to hear your parents say that. You know, your parents would be like, I don't feel old. And you look at them, yeah, but you look like you're
much, yeah, exactly.
My Sophie Bell Christone, I haven't seen you in so long.
I know.
Getting married next Saturday.
Wow.
I know. Isn't that crazy?
Is huge for the Jordan household.
Yeah.
That is huge. So I have to ask, so it's where are we getting married? Who is in a church?
No, it's at the someplace. It's like a farm up in North Georgia or something.
Okay,
like that.
cool.
It's really cool, and so, but it's like an outdoor. Hopefully, it doesn't pour. You know, but it should be
outdoor weddings.
Yeah,
and it's been raining a lot here in the ATL. You know, so I said ATL.
So what have you been doing?
You're looking at it, man.
Yeah,
a lot of this, a lot of virtual production, a lot of virtual speaking. The back is better. Thanks for asking.
Yes.
So now I can attend things physically. And so, and you know me, and you're the same way. You got to get out and, actually the in-person energy is really what it's about.
Oh
right?
my gosh. Oh my gosh. It's been, and it's everybody needs it. Especially people who are prone to kind of like the introvertism. It's very easy to get caught up and get into that world. And it's so rare when you find somebody who is, ought to be an introvert. Like they are, there's people like sometimes you meet people who are introverts, but they're just so darn interesting that they become extroverted. And you want to get them. And we just so happen to have a person like that who came along today. I mean, I met him in odd circumstances. And then I said, oh my gosh, this guy would be perfect. You know who he needs to meet? Chris Stone and our tens of listeners. And so that's what he needs to do. So without any further ado, please help me welcome my new best friend, Paul Neblock.
Yes.
Wrong again.
I got it wrong again, but that's okay. I forgive you. You're my new best friend.
That's right. You see that? Now, just even from that interaction, you wouldn't expect him to be a brilliant engineer. And yet he is.
Well, I purport to be that. So yeah.
Yes.
In another world. But I'm also, you mentioned earlier before bringing me on about the hair and how old. So you noticed how I've taken care of that. I have no hair.
Yeah.
So you have to guess. You can guess right. You can guess wrong. But You have to
Okay.
guess.
Well, I already guessed and played this game. So this parlor trick. So Chris Stone, it's up to you. You have to
I'm
guess
not doing
how old
this.
he is.
I'm not doing that. You're not going to rope me into it. Like I just met Paul. He's a very, very nice man out of Indianapolis.
You'll be surprised. If he asked, you could do it. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'm supposed to guess how old you are right now.
And you plus or minus 3 years. Yeah, plus or minus 3 years. I give you a range that I'll work with. That's the engineer in me.
Okay. I'm gonna guess 64.
Wrong. So that's okay. You're low, but that's good. Good.
Yeah. So
now
you have to be wrong.
narrow.
You want to be wrong on the low end for guessing.
There you go. Right? And you're being nice anyway because I'm your guest. I understand.
Well, that's risky. You never know what you're going to get on this show, Paul. And I know. All of a sudden, I feel like I'm like one of those people at amusement parks where they come up and they guess your weight or they guess your age, and you get one of the big stuffed animal. Like,
that's right.
How did that happen?
I know.
So how old?
How old am I really? Okay, so I just turned 69.
Just turned 69.
Yeah.
Months ago. Big one.
But when you cut your hair off, people look younger.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
I have my prior pictures on my LinkedIn profile and stuff had hair that was it was the color that Dan's is. And so I said, I'm gonna off that and off with a bunch of years. So it's fresh.
Well, it doesn't look like you have any hair on your LinkedIn profile here.
Yeah, that's
Paul.
right. There you go. 0-0.
He just upped it. So here's the thing, Paul, you got to tell me. So the thing that was interesting about him is that he told me that as an engineer, what he does is he helps companies when they realize they want to scale, but there's a problem in our workforce market right now that you can't hire people. People tend to want to automate. Which makes perfect sense, like in your manufacturing facility, just want to automate this whole thing. But then he told me this statistic, and why don't you tell me again, how many people actually succeed in that function, Paul?
Well, it's like a coin flip. Okay. About half of them fail, about half of them are successful. So think about that. If you're a business owner or a manager or a director, and you're responsible for small companies, a few $100,000, and for large companies, millions of dollars. And it's a 50-50 bet. So if you're an investor sitting back like that, would you make that bet on your company? The answer is probably no.
Right.
So my business is built around helping companies who want to take that 50-50 bet to a virtual sure thing that is going to be successful, right? With the best ROI, return on investment you can get in the shortest time, and it'll be successful for the long term and sustainable.
Well, what do you mean by failure? Because I mean, like, I'm a sales guy. I fail 90% of my day.
Yeah. Well,
what do you mean by?
Yeah. So failure is, let's say I've been in plenty of plants like this where I do a plant tour and I say, well, what is this robot over here with these fixtures sitting in a corner collecting dust? Oh, that was a project 3 years ago that we tried to automate welding this or drilling that, or it doesn't matter what it was. I said, how much do you spend on that? Well, and then they blush and say, oh, $250,000. Did you ever get it to work? Well, maybe it kind of did, but it slowed us down. So instead of slowing down production or growth, we just took it out of production. We stuck it in the warehouse, and now we're going to try to sell it to somebody else. Okay, that's failure. Yeah, okay, not only did you lose the $250,000, but you did not increase your production. You did not increase your sales. You did not grow your business. That's failure, right? That's failure.
Yeah. Well, and so, it's funny because I have some clients and people that I have one guy in particular. He's always buying more machinery. He's always buying more stuff. And I go, why are you buying this stuff? He goes, it's so darn cheap. He goes, it goes to auction. I get it for practically nothing. Giant lathes and giant, welders and all this crazy stuff. He goes, what happens is people try to use it and then it goes up for auction. Nobody wants to buy it. And so sometimes I just pay for the shipping.
That's right. It happens all the time, unfortunately. In fact, some people have done some surveys of this. There was a article in a recent publication that talked about that, and about 90% of the robots purchased, there's no like overall strategic plan how to use it. People just get a wild hair and they buy a robot for this, or somebody walks through, oh, we can have a robot do this easy. To do this operation, we can get some young person to program it, and we'll get rid of this. And then it doesn't work, and so that gets stuck in the corner. Well, that's a lot. That's a lot of wasted money, wasted time. Plus, on a psychological standpoint, now the next time somebody comes and goes to the board and says, "I want to invest in automation," what do the board members think? I just
that didn't work.
Lost $250,000 or $500,000 on something that doesn't work. How many times am I going to put money down and confidence in you that this will work?
Wow. Yeah.
You got to think about that.
Well, so do you have any successes I want to hear?
Of course, Trish. So I've worked with a number of companies over the years in different industries. So one company, this is many years ago, actually before the turn of the century, I was working for a company up in Wisconsin, and we were producing patio door screens and insect screens for Anderson Window, which is a huge company, and their volumes are very high, and their on-time delivery is extremely tight. So you're penalized big if you don't do it. So as I was an internal person then, and I directed the development of automated work cells to put together the insect screens and then the patio door screens for a new line that was coming out. And we automated that process, including packaging. And we were able to retain the patio door screen business of about 250,000 units per year, increase the margin about 20%, and also increased our capacity to do even more work. What was interesting was we developed this technology and deployed it even before Anderson Window knew we could do it. They were so surprised we did it in about half the time they thought. So it can be done. And there's other stories where another one that comes to mind is a little bit different. A company down in North Carolina had an automated cell for machining the truck castings for over-the-road hubs for large trucks, right? Everybody's buying everything. And they had spent about $2 million on a complicated machining cell. Couldn't get it to work. A lot of scrap. Called me in. I came in after the fact. And in about 2 weeks, I went through what all the scrap issues were, identified the problem, solved the problem in 2 weeks, and saved them about $1 million a year in scrap. Not only is that $1 million a year in scrap material that was scrap, but also now those units are now being sold, right? So you're getting that much more revenue, and you can grow that much more by solving those type of problems. So we like to work on the front end where we can help people do it the right way up front and automate properly. But if some people are stuck and they have a troubled project, we also are happy to come in and take a look and see if we can help them, get unstuck and find a way to make things work better.
Got it. Yeah. So you're brought in on all different times of the process. Do do you do the strategy to set them up for this, or do you stick around during implementation, or do you have other teams for that?
Yeah, we like to work from strategy through implementation, and I bring people in we bring different skill sets in along the pathway, right? So if I'm working at strategy, I tend to work with people on strategy and therefore planning a lot. What should you automate in what sequence? Why? What's the payback? What are the risks? That's really important to identify the risks and to be very rigorous about that. And then what are the opportunities? As we roll into deployment, implementation of those strategies, I'll bring other people in to run projects, to do layout work, even to do technical things that might be things like integrating the controls, whatever it takes to be successful. So it all depends on what the requirements are. Ideally, work in strategy and then work through the deployment of the strategy all the way down.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think about, a lot of times people will, when you want to be more efficient, there's big business in, IT, just IT consulting, where they're going to say, oh, we're just going to get all your systems to work together. But no one really knows, like, when would somebody think about calling in, the actual physical automation thing? Like, at what point did people say, I need to talk to the Blockster?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I like that word. I have to use that name. Why would you talk to me? So if I'm a company now, if I own or I'm leading a manufacturing company now, and I want to grow, and I can't find people. And by the way, there are all kinds of studies out, statistics. You can't find skilled welders, skilled assemblers, skilled painters, blah, blah, blah. So it's almost anybody. And you have to turn to automation. You've realized that in your heart, in your mind, that you're going to do that. Call me then. Because then let's start from the beginning. Let's understand and develop what the strategy is that fits your business goals and your budget. And it's going to take more than a year to sort out what project sequences and what money's when and what's the payback going to be and everything else. Help me walk you through that. Develop the strategy. That's the best time before you spend a lot of money, a lot of time going down to a robot manufacturer, an automation company, spend a lot of time with them and getting proposals, and the proposals don't make sense, and you spend a lot of money and things go awry. Upfront.
Oh, so it's really like people who sell software. They come and they try to sell their software, and then they try to fit your company into the software.
Exactly
it's the
right.
same thing they do with big stuff as well. Yeah, so you go there and make the strategy.
It is. That's the first step, and the most important step in my mind. Because if you get that wrong, the rest of us, you're going to be undoing what happens downstream. Unfortunately, a lot of companies, the vast majority of companies, think they know how to do it themselves. So they'll pick a project here or a project there, either a difficult position to fill in the factory or something that's unsafe or whatever. So let's put a robot over here. Let's do this over there, without understanding that what that does upstream or downstream. They don't learn by it. They don't understand the risks, and then they lose money. They lose production, and they have a bad taste in their mouth. So by trying to do it yourself without help, you're asking for trouble. You're throwing money away. Okay, throwing money away, and then downstream you're going to have to pay somebody to undo that because that's probably wrong.
How many years have you done this, Paul?
Over 30 years. I mean, I've been doing this work internally in companies since before the turn of the century. That's the 20th century, just to be clear for Dan.
I like this guy, Dan.
I like this guy too. And but I did go to school, but I did finish college when computers were just starting. So that was a benefit to me. That was a benefit to me.
That's funny.
It is funny. It's hard to imagine what without computers, isn't it?
Oh,
and so I worked in all kinds of industries, big plastics, molded industries, fabrication companies, special trucks, forklifts, pressure vessels, defense contractors for the F-35, all kinds of stuff, right? I mean, one company we worked with was a company making parts for the F-35 jet down in Oklahoma, and they were behind to Lockheed Martin. Lockheed Martin had F-35 fighter jets. They couldn't finish assembling for various customers. Imagine that. And they were behind in parts. So I was part of a team that was brought in to figure out how do we get these parts out, made properly, of course, and get the backlog flushed out and then get ahead of it. And so a lot of those skills are applied across industries. And some of those are very tough, precise applications. But on the other hand, for consumer goods, I worked as a director of automation for a large company in Chicago, making consumer products made out of plastic, hose reels, storage sheds. Huge company, multi-billion-dollar company. And they had all kinds of projects that had been started before I got there. I spent most of my time at that time trying to organize things on the project portfolio we already had going, get the risks down so we were successful. And then a few of them had gotten all the way down to the point of implementation. We had some near failures that I was able to save at the last minute, but I had to instruct and train a lot of the engineers working for me. Don't do it this way, do it that way. So in the future, we don't get in that bind.
It sounds to me a lot of what you deal with is problem solving in terms of like, you're kind of brought in like, I don't know if you're a film fan, if you've ever seen the movie Pulp Fiction, but there's a character, Harvey Keitel is the wolf, and he's basically brought in. He's basically brought in to like solve this massive, in this case, it was like, it's a murder, right? But
I know that. I remember that movie.
Brought in as like the guy who's cleaning up everyone's messes and like taking the 10,000-foot view of it and saying, listen, this happened. And so we're going to work on these, these things. So are you dealing with people and telling them, here, you've made these mistakes you don't even realize, and here's how we're going to do that? Or are you also brought in from a strategic perspective before the mistakes are made so that you can kind of have the foresight and say, hey, this is how we need to strategize?
No, I think you've hit the nail on the head. And I'll illustrate that. So oftentimes, it's about 50-50. I get pulled in after the fact or beforehand, developing strategy. If that's my preferred way of going in, because then I help people avoid spending a lot of money on things they shouldn't do. And sometimes I get pulled in after the fact. Another company, division of a large Fortune 500 company up in Minnesota, is making pressure vessels that are used to contain liquid oxygen, nitrogen, things like that for hospitals and things of that nature. You see them all over the place. And they had spent $5 million on a big automated work cell to weld various components onto the rounded domes on these pressure vessels you see all over the place. And it didn't work after 2 years. And the director of automation gave me a call and said, hey, can you help us with that? And I said, sure. I came up there, and even before I left, I asked them for certain information. Once I got there, within 2 days, we found out what the problem was. What I suspected, it was the variability in the height of the domes. They're not all the same, even though the prints say they will be. And so the robotic programming would never work. The solution they'd selected was doomed for failure. But I did find a solution for $100,000 that can save a $5 million investment at that point in time, something to retrofit. So sometimes you have to do these things, and $100,000 to save $5 million, that's not a bad deal. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, that's it. And you get the opportunity to say pressure vessel. I mean, I've never used those two words together in my life, and now I will never stop saying them. It sounds, I feel like a pressure vessel right now.
I think we're renaming the show now, Paul, the Pressure Vessel. It's the Pressure Vessel podcast right here.
We should. Why not?
The PvP. All right, pressure vessel. So tell us about the coolest like automation that you've seen. I always think about, of course, I haven't witnessed it. Maybe you have at the turn of the century, but it was said that Henry Ford, when he built his plants in Detroit, wood would come in on the ship and just get into the plant, and then it would come out a car, like the perfect automation that took place there. Oh, you're from Michigan, there, Chris Stone.
Yeah, we talked about it pre-show when you showed up late.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we talked about, we didn't do the typical Michigan thing, which is like, where are you from? And just so we're clear, Dan, he's like around Ann Arbor area, so it's more like here. And I grew up
thought I thought you were talk to the hand type of thing.
Yeah, well, that too. That works.
Yeah. And so like that, I think, is the coolest, that kind of streamlined approach. And so what cool, hey, did you ever work on that being from Michigan? Did you ever do anything in automotive?
We did did a project. This is something where two really big companies came together to form a joint venture to try to injection mold the windows for cars out of plastic, out of the same plastic that eyeglasses are used out of. Right now your windows are made out of glass, except for your windscreen. And so we developed technology there to injection mold all the windows and the backlight and everything on the SUVs, and remove it from the mold robotically, take all the static electricity off of it, paint all of the lines on for defrosting, and then run it through some proprietary coating materials, do a bunch of stuff like that. And that's basically an R&D feasibility type of project, which is very high tech, a lot of money involved with it. I mean, like $50,000 just to hire somebody to polish the mold to the amount it could be, so you can mold plastic that big with no optical flaws.
Highly specialized, right?
Highly specialized, a lot of money for everything.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you don't see a lot of cars with plastic windows, and it's for a reason. It's because the glass is still very inexpensive, and the plastic is polycarbonate. It's expensive, and there are some challenges scaling up. So it doesn't always work. But that was a really cool one in automotive.
Plus, I'd be afraid with those plastic things because they don't break. Let's say, for instance, you drive into a lake and you want to kick out your window.
Yeah, because that happens all the time, right?
Well, I mean,
in Michigan it does.
Yeah,
that's true.
That would be a safety feature. That's like one of my fears. Everybody has their own like weird phobias. Mine is always regarding water. Yeah. Well, it's always. I'm always worried about drowning and things like that. I'm not always worried about. But when my kids were little, it's not like I wake up and worry. But when my kids are little, like I got them swimming, like immediately.
Oh yeah.
Because that was my. You have a pool, right, Christone?
I do, and like I think you and my wife Sonia, who also needs her daily dose of the Deej, she does not carry any weapons with her in the vehicle. But what she does have in her vehicle, which is strapped to the sun visor, is a little hammer. And that hammer has a little thing on the end of it because she's afraid if she needs to get out of the car in case she goes into a lake that she can bust open the window with that hammer. And I'm like, really? This is the odds of that happening versus somebody carjacking you are like, there's a chasm between those two things, but you've got the hammer in case that happens.
Yes. Well, thank goodness that you didn't have plastic windows because then it wouldn't work.
It wouldn't.
What would
remember they used to have the antenna. Do they still have the antenna, like a car antenna in your windshield? Remember there was those lines that they would like build the antenna in there? Do they still do that? Now people don't have antennas anymore. Nobody uses their radio anymore.
Yeah, they do in some vehicles. They paint them on or they apply them afterwards, but all that kind of stuff is all integrated. It's changed a lot. Some of the coolest automation I've seen in the past has been mechanical automation. That's what you're referring to anyway, I think, Deej, where you're really looking at how people do things mechanically. And I was involved actually earlier in my career, after the turn of the century, to be clear, at another consumer products company where we were making paint trays, metal paint trays that you see. And we actually had some mechanical automation that would feed the material into the press that formed the paint tray, and then another station formed the lip around the paint tray. It would go on some little conveyors. And the really funny part, the hilarious part, where the paint trays would go over to two ladies who were sitting there spot welding the legs on the back of the paint trays. And I asked them how long they've been doing it. And they both of them told me 35 years. Wow. And they had a little cartoon out of a magazine, something about making fun of robots. And those were the coolest ladies. But they'd get in a zone and just sit there and boom, 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 boom. And I'm sure they're pre-generation me, older than me, much older than me, if you can imagine that.
So they worked at the Ford plant.
they work there, so that they're just there. Yeah. So they're not in this world anymore, but cool people. But you don't have, this gets back to the first conversation. The newer generations of people, no disrespect, do not want to work in factories. I don't care what you pay people. They don't want to work in factories. So people were always in management thinking, I can always find more labor to do this or do that. No, you can't anymore. The answer is no, you can't. So now what are you going to do? If you want to grow your business, what are you going to do when that person retires? What are you going to do if you want to add 20% more production? You can't find 20% more people. What are you going to do? Well, you have to automate. That's the only answer now. And if anybody listens to this podcast, they want them to remember that. You have to automate to grow and survive going forward. And if you want to do it successfully and not flip a coin, you better talk to me about it, because then you can get it more of a sure thing, right?
Wow, that's interesting. It's complete opposite of what I think the rhetoric is that machines are replacing people's jobs, when what you're saying is people don't want to do this job. So you have to create automation or you lose your business.
Exactly right. In fact, there's tons of statistics. I just pulled another article out of Forbes magazine, that small magazine, where they went through and did a bunch of studies and showed there's way more jobs open than there are people. And there are like almost 1 million, what they call skilled job openings. Those are people like welders, machinists, assembly people, whatever, in the different industries that are out there that remain open, and that gap's getting bigger, which means people are not going into those jobs because everybody wants to go into college or go into a service job where it's easier to go there, into a cubicle, whatever.
Sure.
And so if you're going to make things, you have a choice. You automate or you're going to go extinct.
Well, so what are you have a certain kind of, like, I have a certain type of understanding of what can and cannot be automated. Yep. And there are some things that I wouldn't even think, oh, that's not even possible. That's got to be a human to do something with their fingers like this. Right. What was something that even you were surprised about that you didn't think could be, like tying my shoes? Like, is that possible?
Yeah. Oh, that's very easy stuff. Tie your shoes.
He can create a robot that will do that for you if that's what you want. Is that just go ahead and ask him?
Well, and I want to know, is it cost effective for that type of?
It is for all kinds of operations. In fact, what's happened is that automation is going through a series of changes. Just like many years ago, it used to be everything was custom and like putting things on pallets. Let's say, here's a fairly simple thing with this complexity. Shipping pallets of mixed products to like a Walmart or any of your big stores. They want 5 of these and 10 of these and 6 of these and 5 of those, whatever. And that would be a very complex automation project to put a robot cell together to do that. Now those what they call mixed pallet automation cells are very standard, where they've taken a problem, figured out how to do it, and then they've replicated it over and over and over. Now that package is a commodity. So that's on the easy side. On some tough things to do from that perspective, some very, very tough things. The most recent things that I've seen that are very, very tough is in some of the welding world for like tank cars and things like this, very large weldments that are used in railroads or tank cars or containers or whatever. The fit up on all those things is not very good. How the pieces fit up is not very good. So some software and vision systems have come a long way now, so that you can apply those very, very effectively and weld very rapidly without having a lot of complex programming. So the world of vision is changing a lot. Automated vision and machine learning is all very important to that as well. So it continues to grow. It's an exciting field. That's what I like about it. You always have to learn new things, and be creative at how you approach problems.
Yeah, keeps you young, obviously.
Obviously.
Now you've done this. You've mentioned you've done it to you've done a lot of work for a lot of companies, and you've worked through other companies. Were you a consultant doing this on your own, or were you working internally directly with those clients?
Both. So in some cases, I was actually employee, like director of automation at that company. And in case I was directing people to go through it and develop the strategy and teach people how to do it. And all those experiences over those years, I learned what worked and didn't work, because I was a person there bringing a team in at 2 a.m. They had to solve the problem on an automation cell because we had a launch for Home Depot the next day, and it had to go out on time. So you learn those hard lessons by doing it yourself, getting your hands dirty, working with people. And then when I launched my consulting business a number of years ago, I just took all those lessons learned, right? Put some structure around them and applied those problems to other people's opportunities in other factories. Because if you've seen as many factories as I have, there's a lot of similarities between them. And you see the same problems recur over and over and over again, the same kind of themes. And in fact, I'm going to be doing some other work on about the top 3 or 4 reasons why projects fail. And it's a recurring theme over and over and over again. People make the same mistakes over and over again.
So who is your competition? I mean, do the big firms do this? Did the Deloittes and McKinseys, do they do this kind of stuff too? Or
it's interesting you know about those people, Dan. Accenture, it has some people that purport to do that, but I know people in that field because I played in that public accounting field years ago before the turn of the century, and their push is always about data collection, data manipulation, stuff like that. They do not have people who understand process, who came up through the engineering field. They don't do it. There's another company called Gain & Company. That's free advertisement for them. They're based in Europe. They have some offices in the US, but they're mostly on the technology side. They're ex-robot people, and they claim to do what I do. But when you look at the background of their people and their approach, it's very much, we have a lot of hardware we can sell you. Let's just find a way to sell it. And that's not what I do. I help people find the process, the risk, and then let's find the best solution. It's not like I have a bunch of hardware I want to sell you. Now I got to find a way to sell you this hardware. You see the difference?
Right. Yeah. Okay. So you're would you describe yourself as a manufacturing automation consultant?
Yes. And I've that word consultant gets a lot of bad connotation. So sometimes I've used the word Sherpa if people are used to that word, what that means. So it's kind of a weird word. You're Sherpa.
That's right. That's much more convenient because now I picture you climbing up the Himalayas with
there you go. With a machine robot on my back.
Yeah, that's right. Just scooting up. You need to hook up with Elon Musk.
We talked about it. Do we mention this, Paul? Breaking news, banned by X?
There we go. I don't know why it happened. It just is. I go on my account. It says I'm banned. I posted absolutely nothing. I don't go to bad websites or anything like that. So I don't get it, but whatever.
Elon sees him as a threat. His business might overtake.
You should use that as advertisement. So here's a story from the turn of a century. I tell you, ever since I've become a pressure vessel, I could think about old stuff. Okay, so Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus. So they were competitors. Yeah. It was the Barnum Circus and then the Ringling Brothers Circus. And, Barnum was a business guy. And one day he said, hey, let me go buy Ringling Brothers. And so he put out an offer for him. He wrote him a letter and he sent them an offer. Now, Ringling Brothers didn't want to do it, but Ringling Brothers, learning from, the times there, took out an ad in the local paper. I'm going to say New York Times because it was probably a big paper, and they put that letter and they put it in there, and they said, "Our circus is so good, even Barnum wanted to take us over." And so you could do the same thing. My automation is so good that Twitter, Elon Musk banned me because he's afraid of the competition.
He can't handle it. Can't handle it.
What do you got to lose, Paul? I mean, you already took your Twitter account down. I mean,
what's he going to do?
Right, exactly.
An attorney come, whatever, you know.
Yeah.
I hope I didn't make up that story because it's a good one. But you know, I'm to the point where it's like, oh, that would be a good story. I don't know if I made it up or not. I'm gonna have to look it up to check on. I'm gonna fact check myself.
What kind of a world are we living in where you don't know whether or not you've made up a story? Like what?
Yeah, I've told so many stories. Sometimes. Have you ever done this, Paul? Neblock.
Neblock. I got it right.
Okay. Yeah,
Go
Paul,
for it, bro.
Have you ever, like, how? By the way, married, kids? What's going on in your personal life?
Married, 4 kids, 4 grandkids. Oldest son lives in Atlanta, and oldest grandchild runs track and cross country for Wright State University. He's much smarter than me. Much smarter. Math major. Probably going to be a Wall Street billionaire kind of person. Probably.
Yeah. Yet he doesn't get banned from Twitter. Elon Musk doesn't see him as a threat.
No. Not yet. Maybe in the future.
Not yet. All right.
And how many years have you been married?
It'll be 46 years and 2 weeks.
Manta Kia. Congratulations.
Long time.
Good for you. Yeah, I had a question involving that.
Which one of your kids is
your favorite? That was the question. Yeah. So do you ever tell stories? That's my general question.
I put him on the spot. Make him do that.
Chris Stone knows me too well. So do you ever tell stories as if they're yours, but they were your wife's story? Like you?
Oh gosh, I don't do that. She's a veterinarian. And she reminds me she has scalpels and knows how to use them. So I don't tread there. Much better judgment, man.
So do you have pets then?
We have pets. Our dog George, a Pyrenees cross, is about a quarter of a mile away, so he can't join in the podcast. He wanted to, and he would if he was close. And we have a couple cats, and then we live.
Dogs are good for ratings. So
that's right. And we have some sheep and goats. We live on a 15-acre farm south of Indianapolis, actually. So it's like a park. We have a big farm with a pond and everything else. You can kind of chill, think about things, and then have my office there, and it works out great.
This guy's living the dream, Dan. And you know what? The other thing I notice is you could tell a lot about a person as to whether or not they name their dog like a real name, or if they name their dog like Pancakes or Trixie, right? Like the dog's name is George. Like that to me says a lot about a person. It's not like, Whiskers, come here. Like it's a real name.
Yeah. It's not a cutesy name.
Yes. Softy. Well, so if I'm my next animal, absolutely named Pressure Vessel. So
that's beautiful.
Oh man, that's bad.
PV. So, did you create an automated pooper scooper device?
No, that's a good idea though.
Yeah, I mean, with all those things going on over there,
could have tractors going through the gravel, picking things up, going through sifting. That's possible. It's probably not that hard. Should make that a project for one of the tech schools with the high school kids or college kids. They do real well at that.
Isn't it funny how the engineers' brains move? I mean, I say something outrageous and he's already trying to put it in priority in the order and structure and how it can be.
Oh yeah. I probably got a project plan back here in the back of my mind already going. And I might be able to start a website and sell it too, even before we get it going.
So how does somebody get a hold of you?
Well, I've got you can go to my email address is the best thing, which is on the Paul at breakthroughmfgtech.com. That's the best way. or you can call my cell phone and harass me at 847-558-9008. And I answer that. Those are the best ways to get hold of me.
All right. Do you have like a form or anything on your website?
On my website, I do have a contact form on my website with all the emails, everything else. And I do have a LinkedIn profile, which you can go there and click and get all my contact information as well. And I go through that rigorously and make sure and follow up with everybody within 24 hours. Because if people have needs, I want to help people succeed. I mean, that's kind of my passion. You know, you probably can tell that. I like what I do. It's not, oh my God, I have to do this stuff. I like to do that. I love to do this stuff. I love working with people who want to get better, grow their business, and solve their problems. I get a kick out of that. It makes me young. It makes me happy, and get up and go on airplanes and fly and do things like that to help them do that.
Well, that's just true. Do you fly?
No, I don't.
Okay. We're getting to. Okay. Well, because you certainly got the headset for it.
There you go. Yeah, it does. It's pretty cool.
Is that
you
a
meant
new
pilot?
headset?
I was like, getting on airplanes and traveling. Yeah, but piloting.
Go to ATL or IND or whatever.
Yes. Well, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming on and enlightening us. It was as interesting, if not more, than I expected. And so,
well, thank you. And you learned a new phrase, pressure vessel.
Oh yes.
Oh, that's going to get used, Paul.
I'm sure in some other bizarre ways. Awesome.
I wrote it down. But I tell you what, is Chris Stone not the world's best producer? Do you see it? You just mention it.
He is.
He's mentioned my email.
He's numero uno. He's numero uno.
Yes.
Oh, you say that to all your producers.
Yeah, I'm sure I do.
That's excellent. Has this been your first podcast?
This has been my first podcast. I've done like one or two webinars that were kind of, I'll say, amateur webinars without the professional productions. This is much better done, a lot more fun, I'll tell you. And I really enjoy this.
Mission accomplished. More fun than you've ever been on.
That's
for now.
It's his first one, Chris Stone. Does he not get confetti?
Oh, we haven't. I have to. Let me dust off the confetti.
There we go.
Oh no, there we go. The confetti.
Yes. He doesn't mess around. Well, this has been awesome. I appreciate it, and I always like unique, oddball ways of meeting people and then becoming friends with them so quickly. You're one of those people that people have an immediate kinship with, and so I appreciate you for coming on. And as usual, Chris Stone, once again, just, a quick email and perfection abounds.
Perfect.
So can't think of anything better than spending my Friday afternoon with you guys. And for all those of you watching eventually, I wish nothing but good things to happen to you for the rest of your lives. Eat well, live long, and prosper. Go get them today, finish strong, and we'll catch you next time.